Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening, friends. We'll start with the session. So we have to start with new part of the organ of medicine. We have finished the first part of the organ of medicine, that is the theoretical part of organ of medicine. Now we have to shift to the practical part, and this part I like more because it has a meaning more. As a practitioner, we require this part in practice very commonly. But unless and until our first part is clear, the thoughts are clear, it is not good to go with the second part. And that's why we have finished the first 70 aphorism, and now we are turning towards the practical part of the organon, out of which again there are three divisions which Hahnemann have made, and that we have to learn. In the 71 aphorism only, he has explained that how he will going to proceed from 71 aphorism to the 291, that is the last aphorism in this book. And all those matters a lot. So we'll start with the 71, what he says. As it is now no longer a matter of doubt that the diseases of mankind consist merely of a group of certain symptoms and may be annihilated and transformed into the health by medicinal substances, but only by such as are capable of artificially producing similar morbid symptoms. And such is the process in all genuine cures. Hence, the operation of curing is comprised in three following points. So what he is explaining, whenever you expect a cure from the patient, basically the law of similars is needed. When you apply your medicine with the law of similars, and when you apply the medicine in dynamic form, that is when you are prescribing remedy in dynamic form with the help of a law of similars, then when you expect a cure, there should be three important things which should be followed. And which are those, and which we have to learn, that is more important. And this is what he is the dividation of this practical part of the organ of medicine into three different divisions. And that's why he puts three questions. See what he says on the first: how is the physician to ascertain what is necessary to be known in order to cure the disease? What he says, how is the physician to ascertain what is necessary to be known in order to cure the disease? So what the physician should know about the disease? And there are two types which he has already mentioned when qualities of homeopathic physician are mentioned in third aphorism. He explains over there the knowledge of disease as well as indications, knowledge of indications. So both the things are necessary. Both are very important. So aphorism number 72 to 104 deals with the knowledge of diseases and to acquire the knowledge of that disease from a specific patient, that is case taking. So this first question which he has raised over there has been answered from aphorism number 72 onwards to 104. It deals with the knowledge of diseases, and second point, knowledge of disease in a particular specific individual. Both are necessary in order to understand that human being. So this is a practical part, how to deal with the diseases, the knowledge of diseases, and in general, that knowledge of disease specifically from homeopathic point of view, that is the case taking part, he deals with it with this first question. The second question which he explains over there, how is he to gain a knowledge of instruments adapted for the cure of natural disease, the pathogenetic powers of the medicines. So second important thing is related with the knowledge of medicinal powers. So medicines. And how will you acquire the knowledge of medicines? It is only and only through the proving, the drug proving. And what is the importance of drug proving in homeopathy? It is done on the healthy human being. The way, the method which has been developed by Hahnemann, it was already mentioned by someone, but Hahnemann was first one to start it. The practical application of it has started by Hahnemann. And this second question is knowledge of medicinal powers and medicines and drugs that is the drug proving, and which has been dealt by Hahnemann from aphorism number 105 to 145. So 40 aphorisms, 41 aphorisms are devoted to the part of drug proving. So this is second question which he has mentioned. So first is the investigation of disease, second is the investigation of drugs, and third is most important. That is, what is the most suitable method of employing these artificial morphic agents, that is medicines, for the cure of natural disease. And total most practical part of this organon starts with aphorism number 146 onwards to the 291, and where it is nothing but deals with the practical application of knowledge of diseases, knowledge of medicines to the knowledge of diseases. This is most important, and everything, every pros and cons developed by discussed by Hahnemann over there. He has considered what may be the possible difficulties will arise for the student. If a physician, homeopathic physician or neophyte who is there in the practice and who never gets a very perfect simillimum, how to approach that? All those questions, all those difficulties are dealt by the Hahnemann in this last part of the book, that is the most practical, right from aphorism number 146 onwards to 291. So this book in this practical part is divided into three different parts. Aphorism 72 to 104, related with knowledge of disease and acquiring the knowledge of disease from particular individual, that is case taking. Number 2, that is knowledge of drugs and their pathogenetic powers, means knowledge of drug proving, dealt from aphorism number 105 to 145, and from 146 onward is nothing but the practical application of both the knowledges to each other, that is the last part, application of knowledge of medicines to the knowledge of diseases. So this is what we have to learn right from next aphorism. So here he clearly gives you a synopsis how the book is comprised of henceforth. So this is called as the anatomy of organ of medicine, anatomy of the practical part of the organ of medicine, and which he defines at first, and then he starts right from the aphorism number 72. See, whole book when he has written, he has arranged it so nicely. He took a lot of efforts, done a lot of hard work to arrange each and every aphorism in sequence. How methodical and meticulous the person was. He had changed the arrangement many times and make it so nice that it should be one aphorism followed by another, then next one. It is a sequence with which we can approach and learn the human being and human nature. And this is the uniqueness of this sixth edition of Organ of Medicine, which is written by Hahnemann. So in this aphorism, he defines the anatomy of this part of the organ of medicine, and he clearly mentions with the aphorisms that how he will going to further discuss the thing. The 72 aphorisms, he has defined two important definitions, and these are very, very, very necessary to understand. It is too important because what happens, we are not clear and thorough with the definitions. Basic problem is that we are not thorough with the definition. We never look towards the things properly. If we are thorough with the definition, then it becomes very clear. Then we can approach the diseases in a proper manner. And Hahnemann have clearly defined the diseases. So we'll start with this practical part of organ of medicine with knowledge of diseases first. And he first is the classification of diseases. Basically, drug diseases are classified into two types. The first variety is adynamic and second variety is dynamic. So it is divided into two types. One is adynamic and dynamic. Adynamic means cause is external. It is because of some trauma. It is because of some accidental poisoning. It is because something entered inside the body. Some foreign body enters inside your body. Here, the dynamic cause is not there. It is not originated inside the body. It has been thrown from outside. And that's why it never directly comes under the sphere of homeopathy. And that's why the first variety is adynamic diseases, which you have to keep aside. And then we have to start with the dynamic. And dynamic, he has divided into two main varieties. The first variety is called by the acute disease, and second variety, which is called by the name of chronic disease. So this is a broad classification, first classification of diseases. So first is adynamic and dynamic are again divided into two types, acute and chronic. So we'll start with the 72 and let us see what he explains. With respect to the first point means first question which he has raised in earlier aphorism. The following will serve as a general preliminary view. Now, in your books, underline this. Right from the diseases, Pasunjit, you start underlining over there, and these are termed as acute disease. This is the definition of acute disease, but part of the definition is given over here. So let us see what he says. The diseases to which man is liable are either rapid morbid processes of the abnormally deranged vital force, which have a tendency to finish their course more or less quickly, but always in a moderate time. And after that, there is a dash. It means the definition is not completed here. It is not complete. It is not finished. There is a dash. So you have to look towards it. The after the dash, whatever is written in the 73 aphorism, in my book on page number 161, the third line, page number 161, aphorism 73, third line, which when left to itself, it is there in your book, which when left to itself terminates in a moderate period of time in a death or recovery, and then again come to the previous definition. These are termed as acute disease. See, this is very important. What he defines acute disease is very clear. The diseases to which man is liable are either rapid morbid processes of abnormally deranged vital force. Yes, this is truth. You are affected because your vital force is deranged. But how it is deranged? It is very acutely, very suddenly, very off easily. So there is an abnormality deranged, it is very rapid. And all of a sudden, when it starts expressing in the form of signs and symptoms. When it gets disturbed all of a sudden because of anything, cause might be anything. Your body is more susceptible because of which you are affected. So something has happened and all of a sudden you are absolutely normal till afternoon, and in the afternoon you start getting running nose, the cough or throat affections, you have got the fever. It is all of a sudden. Nothing was there 2 hours before. So it is a rapid process. First important thing which he defines over there, it is a very rapid morbid process of abnormally deranged vital force which have a tendency to finish their course more or less quickly. So they finishes their course more or less quickly. It never remains for longer time of duration. It is the duration is between 1 day to 7 days maximum. It never goes beyond that. Generally, it is within a week, within a 10 days. Yes, that is the rapid morbid process. And what he says, which have a tendency to finish their course more or less quickly, but always in a moderate time. But always in a moderate time, not more than 10 days, 15 days. It is before that. And which when left to itself, if you don't do anything with acute disease, what will happen? We generally make a comment that if one person has been having a coryza, if you treat it, he requires a week, and if you don't treat it, it requires 7 days. So it is the thing. This is what happens. Which when left to itself, it will be going to recover. So which when left to itself terminates in a moderate period of time in recovery and in a death or recovery. See, acute diseases have two ends. either a death, either a recovery. But if you calculate, I have done the work nearly about 31 years of my practice. Recovery is 99.5%. 0.5 or point not 5 is also one of the things where the complications can happen. Patient may land into the death. So why to worry to treat the acute diseases? This is my question to all of you. Many people fears of treating the acute diseases. There is always a fear treating the acute disease. They consider chronic, it's okay. Patient will not going to comment anything, even though he never feels better. But when acute, he wants the early results. And that's why to deal with acute, everyone is always in a tension. But my suggestion is that if you treat acute with homeopathy, and if your remedy is wrong, it doesn't matter. You will going to get cured. Only thing is that be watchful and careful whether he is not landing into the complication. If you are treating the fever, basically you always ask the patient to follow up daily in fever cases. Just watch his pulse, watch his parameters, vital parameters, and just keep a watch. If the patient comes to you whose pulse rate is nearly about 140 or 150, he is having running temperature 105, and if you are chosen a right remedy for this patient, next day ask the patient to come and see his pulse. If it is coming down, wait, doesn't matter. Even though he runs the temperature of 103 and his pulse is 130, it is a better indication. Ask him to come tomorrow again, see his pulse. If it is showing downward trend, nothing to do, nothing to worry about. Ask the patient that it will require 48 to 72 hours to recovery whenever you are treating the fever. Don't expect that there is no antipyretic in homeopathy. There is no crocin, there is no paracetamol. So even though you have given remedy, ask the patient that it will not directly produce the action like a paracetamol. So it will take its own period. Only thing is that if you have given the medicine, this process is cut down. If you are going to take the 7 days, instead of that, patient will be settled within 3 days. Because whole process of the your immune system will going to work in the same manner. Only thing is that it will run fast. It is not that it cuts short. It is not that it will remove the fever. It is not that it will remove the antibodies. It will act as an antibiotic. There is no antibiotic. There is no antipyretic. What it will going to do? If in such type of patient, if a patient is there who comes to you with acute fever, he is having running temperature 102, and if his pulse rate is 150, you have seen him and you observe that he is looking toxic. You see his tongue, and his tongue is clean, absolutely clean. But patient is in a chill, he is in a rigor, and you are observing the patient. So what you will going to do in such type of cases? This is acute, and where this is sufficient to treat the patient. This is what is needed for the patient to treat. What will be going to give to this patient without any investigation? Don't do any investigation. Just see, watch, and give the remedy. What is your remedy? Any idea? Patient is there who is toxic, having all those features. What is the remedy? And which remedy will going to work?
Pyrogenum.
Yes, sir. Correct. Pyrogenium. Why pyrogenium? Why pyrogen? Yes, I am happy. But why
Toxicity of the patient.
not toxicity. Toxicity is there with bacteria also. Toxicity is there with rust also. Toxicity is there with.
Disproportionate.
Huh? The main reason is that pulse is out of proportion to the
Disproportionate.
temperature. If person's temperature is 102, he should have pulse 120. Simple exam relation. If his temperature is 102 and pulse is 150, it is the most important indication to prescribe the pyrogen. And second important indication is clean tongue. tongue clean as if varnished is the characteristic of the pyrogen. Here you have to differentiate it from the baptisia. Baptisia, the tongue is coated, it is brownish, it is toxic, thick coated, and you can watch that toxicity in the tongue. It is not acute, rapid in baptisia. It takes long period of typhoid. Here also typhoid is there, but it is so acute. The difference is there. The toxicity is present in both. Both are in delirium state. But in baptisia, it is disproportionate in opposite direction. Patient's temperature is 104, pulse is 120. Relative bradycardia, which you can get in baptisia. Relative tachycardia, you can get in pyrogen. And this is what you have to look for. And if you give this remedy to the patient, ask the patient to come daily. If he is a typhoid patient, it is your duty to tell the patient he will going to take 4 days to get recovered completely. It is not, because you must know the physiology and pathology. Because when it is a typhoid, the typhoid will not going to yield immediately. It is not a pneumonia where the temperature goes by crisis. In typhoid, it goes by lysis. So if it is 105 on day first, second day it will be 104, third day it will be 103, then fourth day it will be 102. So it gradually comes to the normal if it is typhoid, because it is enteritis. This will not yield directly. But if it is pneumonia, if it, even though it is 105, next day it might be 98. There is a difference. It goes by crisis. And this is what we have to learn. When we are learning the acute diseases and treat the acute diseases, we must know what are the complications which can develop. We must be very careful and watchful in acute diseases, because it has two ends. It has a period of prodrome, period of progress, and then period of decline, or and it is in two ways, either complete recovery, either towards the death. Even though death rate is very less, still you should be very, very careful and cautious regarding treating the acutes. And that's why it is always better to ask the patient to visit you daily. My suggestion to all of you, that those who treat the acute and who dares to treat the acute, my suggestion, just be watchful and ask them to visit you daily. If you are treating the fevers, or if you are treating any acute illnesses, for example, appendicitis, if you are treating, take chance to treat the appendicitis. If you are treating the angina, yes, treat the angina. Should not run away from it. It is your duty to treat. Only thing is that you should be very careful and watchful when you treat such types of disorders in practice, but which are very, very useful. If you produce results, they will bring you many patients, because they are very happy with the way homeopathy works in such types of cases. And that's why Hahnemann have defined it in a very nice manner. And this definition one has to understand, that even though what will happen if your remedy is wrong. If you, instead of a pyrogen, if you had given by baptisia and you have not repeated it, what might be the problem which can develop?
Patient will not recover, but the acuteness of the disease will continue for a week or some moderate time.
Simple thing is that it will take little bit time. Only you should be watchful that whether patient is recovering or not. Instead of 5 days, instead of 2 days, 3 days, he will land into the week. Only thing, you should be careful. And that's why there is no worry in treating the acute diseases, even though you might be wrong. Only one more thing is important, that in acute diseases, susceptibility is very high. Persons are susceptible. If the susceptibility is high, your potency should be high, but very less repetition. 3, see, this rule should be very clear in your mind. If susceptibility is high, potency should be high, but very less repetition. So if you are giving a belladonna, give belladonna in high potency, but give 1, 2, 3 doses, finished. Don't repeat thereafter. If you are giving Rustox, whatever remedy which you are using as an acute to treat that acute state, whether it is aconite, belladonna, rustox, hyoscyamus, stramonium, any remedy which has that acute paste, veratrum, at that time should be given in high potency, but without too much repetition. This one should keep it in your mind. So if you had given the rustox to the patient on day 1, 3 doses, ask the patient to come tomorrow, and patient comes tomorrow, next day. You again watching him, you observe him. If he really needs, then repeat it. If he never requires it, give the placebo 3 more doses. Ask the patient, I have given same dose. And be watchful, careful. Ask the patient again, visit. In acute, this is needed. So definition, if you understand very clearly and mug it, this definition, those who are students, this definition should be as it is. जशी दिली पुस्तकात तशीच्या तशी पाठ पाहिजे. पाठ करायची, 2 definitions पाठ करायचे, acute disease and chronic disease. Today we have dealt with the acute disease only, and this is the only definition which we have learned. We have learned the acute disease, how to handle acute diseases, how to approach acute diseases, and what should be your strategy. While dealing with the acutes, you never require too much of time because everything is self-evident. Hahnemann says there is no need to write down each and every detail in acute. Because everything is self-evident. This is the word which he has used while writing down how to do a case in acutes. So when you deal with such types of patients in acutes, you require only catch the characteristics from the patient. Patient enters inside your room all of a sudden with acute coryza, and his whole nose is completely roughened. His nose is blocked. He's not able to breathe, with some watering over there. Upper lip is corroded. It is dry, parched. And you observe that there are cracks also. But at the same time, even though it is cracked, it is corroded, he touches this, and he specifically touches like this. This is what you have to observe. That's all. That is the case. Nothing else. Don't ask any question. You observe that he is trying to breathe by the nose, but it is not possible. He is getting blocked over there. So what is the remedy? Remedy is very clear. Already I have told you in the previous lecture. Any idea? No,
I cannot say about I cannot say about observation, but I will go with arsenic if observation is not there.
No. What
No, not arsenic, nitram.
Ali has told, that is very clear. Arum triphyllum. It is arum triphyllum. Arum is the remedy, and arum directly gives you the result. If you open the Allen's notes, what Hahnemann says at the end in this book is very important. Don't miss that sentence. He explains over there that arum is very strong in its action. You should not repeat too much. 1 or 2 doses of arum triphyllum are sufficient to remove the whole epidemic also. That sentence also there is. This is the way it works. There is no repetition for arum triphyllum which is required. So you should be watchful what is there in acutes. There is no need to ask more and more. You just go on watching what is there. So arum is like that. Sambucus is different. Sambucus, it is in infants. The word is called as nipples. The infants. Yesterday only I had a child, infant, only just 1 month. I went to one place, and I have seen that infant 1 month, and totally obstructed nose was there, totally obstructed, and that baby was not able to breathe, and that because of that she was not able to suck the breast. Simple. It is Sambucus. I have asked there to Sambucus in that place. We got the Sambucus given to the child, infant, in a milk, and within 10 minutes the child was completely okay. The nose is completely open. This is nipple. This is Sambucus. So these are the things which you have to catch when you deal with the acutes. Acutes are like that. And that is what he wants to explain over there. Acute, you should be very watchful, careful, as well as your perceiving power should be very marked so that you can get such types of diseases too. So today we have discussed only the acute disease definition from 72 aphorism. The second part, a big definition of chronic disease is there. And that definition we have to learn in tomorrow's session. That definition itself takes whole lecture tomorrow's session because it is very important. Not tomorrow, we'll meet on Monday. Tomorrow is Saturday. Saturday there is big OPD, so it is not possible to conduct the lecture. We'll meet directly on Monday. So Monday evening 6 o'clock, we'll go start with the second part of the definition, that is the chronic disease definition, and we'll understand that definition clearly so that we can understand the chronic disease. So that's all for today. Thank you being there, and those who have who are there, thanks a lot. Any queries are there? 2 minutes are there with us.
Sir, in aphorism 72, abnormally deranged vital force is written there. So, if there is abnormally deranged vital force, then is it there normally deranged vital force?
No. Abnormally deranged vital force means because of some abnormal things happens in the life of the human being, because of which it deranged. It is a one important thing which you have to understand over there, which there are many noxious agents, inimical noxious agent. This word Hahnemann have used. What is the inimical noxious agent? What is inimical? Inimical which you don't like, which is not according to your thoughts. So this is too important. If it is not according to your thought, it is inimical. So if you are saying something and another person who is not listening, what happens? You get disturbed. What has happened? Where the disturbance is there inside the vital force, vital principle. So that is what is called as abnormally deranged vital force. Because of abnormal things, it gets deranged. So that's all for today. Thank you, everyone. We'll meet on Monday evening. Thanks a lot. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Second important thing, those who have joined the Divine School of Homeopathy, it is always there, but those who have not yet joined, be joined with our Divine School of Homeopathy. If you want the details about it, 7249 297. I have typed the phone number over there. Just Dr. Prerna, ask her how to join our Divine School of Homeopathy. Okay. Just write it down, that number. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.